Okay, so I explained this so many times, but you know what? Maybe I can explain it better here. There's this understanding in the Wiretap Act. That is, Maryland's Wiretap Act, which is also its eavesdropping act, is 10-401 of court and judicial proceedings to 10-414. Okay, it's not just 10-402. It is literally 401 to 414, and you have to understand all of it to understand how that statute works. Um, and the prosecutors don't understand it. Most of the lawyers around here don't understand it, and it's a bit concerning. But let me explain how the extra privacy protections work. But yes, Maryland offers extra protections, but that doesn't mean it's for your phone calls. What is it for? Well, case law in Maryland shows that traditionally the definitions in Maryland law that are the same as federal law are considered the same, as in the Maryland Wiretap Act. It's modeled right after the federal act. As a matter of fact, here are the two main differences. In the Maryland Act, there's a section saying um, all parties are required to consent to the interception of the communication, not the recording, not the preservation, the acquisition, the interception of the communication. Okay, number one. Number two, the definition of oral communication was slightly changed. I don't know word for word the very specific differences, but the only definition that's different from the Federal Act and the Maryland Act is not electronic communication. It's not wire communication. It is oral communication. That's the only thing that differs in Maryland from the Federal Act. Okay, definition wise, that and what I said about the consent of all parties. Now, that's not that you need the consent of all parties to record. It's you need consent of all parties to intercept. Okay. And here's where the extra protections come in. Like I said, the only definition that's different is oral communication. So if you're in a private meeting, let's say we are let's just call ourselves the three amigos, and there's three of us in a room. Okay, a private meeting, and we meet every Wednesday, for example. Now it's Bill, Joe, and Kyle. I don't know. I just made some names. Bill, Joe, and Kyle talk about some understand everything to be the meetings to be private, closed, secretive. Okay. Well, one day Kyle doesn't like what Bill and Joe are talking about. And Kyle confronts Joe, and then Joe's like, "Yeah, you know what? I understand, but that's really Bill." Okay. So then Bill's like, "Well, let's record him saying it and show people that he believes this stuff." Okay. Well, now remember they're in a secret private meeting. Well, now Kyle and what is it, Joe? They decide together they're going to record. So Joe's recording while Bill and Kyle are talking. Okay. It doesn't matter that one of the parties gave permission to record, to intercept rather. All parties had to give permission to intercept. Okay. But they didn't. It doesn't matter who knew. Now, if you're in Virginia, only one of them people had to know. Like Bill could give Kyle permission. I mean, Joe could give Kyle permission. Okay, to record Bill, even if Bill doesn't know about it. In Maryland, Kyle can't. Kyle and Joe don't have permission to record Bill unless Bill knows about it. A third party recording is always a de facto unlawful intercept in an all party consent state. As if both people that are being recorded don't know about it, because then the person has to intercept it as an inference. You infer that they intercepted it by even recording it. It's an inferential understanding. They're not synonymous. Okay, that doesn't have anything to do with your phone calls. All those definitions are the same as the federal law. All that case law, the business extension exception, all that stuff is the same. Okay, the only thing that's different is oral communication, which is an in-person private conversation. That's it. So that would be closed door private meetings with multiple people. There could be 50 people in there, and not one of them can record the other if it's understood to be a closed private meeting. This is probably meant to protect people in political groups, like maybe if the Illuminati were to exist, for those of you that are interested in that, if they get together and meet, then that means nobody in there can record and disclose those contents of that meeting, regardless of even if 49 of 50 people knew about it, they still can't do it. It has to be all of them. Okay, so that's how that works. Private meetings, secret meetings, stuff like that. Political organizations, groups with religious beliefs, etc., and so forth. Okay, that's who it protects. Okay, in person, private conversations of people in a private setting, all people. You go to Virginia, you can be in any group, and there can be 50 of you in a closed meeting. And if any of those people can record that meeting, and if they were a party to it, then they had every right. Maryland, that's not true. So basically, what I'm saying is the only extra protections in Maryland is not for one's own phone calls from the other person who's willfully given the person that communication. Think of communication as a property. Um, it's other people. You can't I can't give her permission. It's my girlfriend. I can't give her permission to record my conversation with somebody else if we're sitting in a closed door meeting, regardless if I know. If in Virginia, if I know, she can record it, even if that person can't. In Maryland, if I know and she knows and that person doesn't, I can't. See the difference? Those are the extra protections. That's the only extra protection. That's it. I know there's a myth that it's your phone call, but it's not. Okay? That's a myth. It's not true. It's never been true. Case law shows that intercept means the acquisition of a communication, while recording is a preservation of something already acquired. The reason they're making this mistake is because every bit of case law that exists in Maryland and federally, where they use record, it's also a third party recording of at least two other people, which means it's an intercept through inferential reasoning. It's not because they're synonymous. It's because obviously, if somebody recorded without the knowledge of both parties somewhere else, then they would have had to have intercepted it to acquire it, to record it, because you can't record something that you haven't already acquired. That doesn't mean that the recording is the acquisition. The acquisition happens whenever something in transit is grabbed with this device that doesn't have consent to access that communication, doesn't have authorization to access that communication. That's how that actually works. This will make people a little bit less confused about everybody's listening to me. I'm only the first person charged in 20 years. There's obviously no reason for that, right? In this day and age where people do stuff like that and record things all the time, there's more to it. Y'all have a nice day.